Do you believe that you can heal yourself? Too often we give our power away to something outside of ourselves, and rarely, if ever, trust and tap into our innate healing power and intuition. Everyone has this capability to heal in ways we never thought possible. It's your sovereign right to claim and have true health and lasting wellness. Now, here is the host of the Dr. Dolores Show, Dr. Dolores Fazzino, nurse practitioner, medical intuitive, and energy whisperer.
Well, hello, everybody, and welcome from Mount Shasta, California. I'm actually on vacation this week, and so I've traveled up to Mount Shasta. And for people who don't know where that is, that's in Northern California, probably about 20 miles from the Oregon border. And so Mount Shasta is a very spiritual place, and the energy up here is just delicious. But anyway, welcome to our show. I'm Dr. Dolores Fazzino. I'm a nurse practitioner, medical intuitive, and an energy whisperer. And I've been working in my practice for many, 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 many years, decades. And I have gathered a lot of information, a lot of insight. And I like to bridge the physical with the spiritual and the invisible with the visible. So today I want to welcome you to our show because we're going to talk about boundaries. And the name of our show is Boundary Breakers: Elevate Your Life with Healthy Boundaries. How many of us have a real challenge setting boundaries in our lives? We all do. It's like sometimes we want to play nice in the sandbox, and sometimes we just don't know what to do. But today, let's just talk about what we're going to discover here. As you ready to transform your life on every level, step into the world of limitless possibilities and healthy boundaries. In this episode, we're going to redefine the way you live, love, and lead. In a world where chaos and confusion often reign, our two-word secret weapon is here to guide you: healthy boundaries. Join us today on this journey of self-discovery as we delve into the power of setting healthy boundaries, both personal, emotional, mental, and spiritual boundaries. And we could also add dimensional as well. In this episode, Boundary Breakers, we uncover the art of saying yes to yourself and no to what holds you back across all facets of your life. So, how often do you find that you're invited to do something and part of you is like, well, I don't know, or I really don't want to do that, but part of us is also saying, well, there's another voice that comes in, I really should do that because, what will everybody think, and all that other stuff. And you know what, I'm just here to let you know that when you feel that way, sometimes it's like putting something in the oven to bake and you pull it out like 15 minutes before it's done. It's like half baked. So when you kind of show up in those situations, kind of half baked, guess what happens? You're not really fully present. Part of you doesn't want to be there. And then it's maybe you're resenting the fact that you're there. I have this rule that I follow, that I have to feel what's kind of happening, and it's a moment to moment issue. It's like sometimes I'm just not feeling it, so it's a hard no for me, or what I call a hell no, and I honor that, and I accept people to honor that as well. Too often, I think many of us put too much power into something outside of ourselves, like thinking, what is everybody else going to think? Or whatever, they probably don't even care. Seriously, because they're doing their own thing in their mind, just like you are, and thinking everybody else is going to worry about something, but yet it's not the case. Boundaries are very interesting because, we have physical boundaries like a fence that is in the perimeter of a yard, which is tangible and you could feel and see. And there's a gate where it's closed, where you're not supposed to come in, or the door to your front house. It's like that's a boundary too within your dwelling. But the boundaries that we're going to talk about are the ones that are less tangible, the ones that are more nebulous, meaning that you can't really see them. There might be energetic ones, like emotional boundaries, mental boundaries, spiritual boundaries. They're all energetic boundaries. All boundaries are energetic, believe it or not. The physical ones are just a denser version of what we could see, whereas the mental, emotional, spiritual, and dimensional are more fluid. They're like radio waves. We can't really tangibly see them, yet sometimes we could sense that they are there. Those are boundaries as well. Sometimes when you have a conversation with somebody and it just feels icky, that is an indicator that, your boundary may be tested a little bit or something doesn't feel correct for you. Honor that. A lot of times we think, oh, you know what, I should be, you know, perfect. Oh, recovering perfect people here. Okay, good. I'm one of those too. Recovering perfectionist. We think that it has to look a certain way to be legit. Not true. Not true at all. Sometimes when we try to bypass what we're really feeling and thinking, that's when we start getting into trouble a little bit. It's like we are kind of giving our power away to something outside of ourselves instead of coming within and really, embracing the information that we are receiving and for ourselves. And remember, this information may not be for anybody else but you. And it's up to you to honor that because that is the right thing for you. So let's talk about um, boundaries in another perspective. And I think this would be an interesting thing to experience. I think, later on in the show, I think we're going to go through a little exercise it's going to make it a little easier for people to experience where they end and something else begins. But, when we talked last week about being an empath, a closet empath, intuitive and highly sensitive person, where you could feel things, and sometimes you can't feel where you end and something else begins. So when we talk about boundaries, we're talking about that space where we end and something else begins. And you know what? It's not a straight shot. A lot of times it's a dovetail like this. So it's like things are kind of laced in a little bit, and it's up to us to discern where that is. I think one of the most simple things that I could share with you is this. When are walking in a room and you feel like you're going through all these emotions and all these thoughts and beliefs, and it's almost crazy making because you don't know if this is your stuff or somebody else's. One way to really help yourself discern what is going on, first of all, is just being aware. Self-awareness is number one. That, okay, something's off here. I'm not sure what's going on. Part of me thinks it's mine, but part of me doesn't. Or I don't know why I'm feeling all these things because I think I'm okay. I feel like I'm okay. If you ever get in that situation, you ask yourself those questions. I invite you to do this. Just recite this statement, and then I'll explain more after. If this is not my stuff, it needs to remove itself immediately from my energy field in the name of the laws of the universe. It's all you need to say. And what will happen is you'll probably feel a shift after that. And why that is so is this. We are sovereign beings. We're here of our own free will, and nothing can come into our space or energy field unless we allow it. Now, here's where it gets a little interesting because, we're conscious and unconscious beings. So a lot of times we are energetically drawing things in to us on an unconscious level. When it's unconscious, it kind of happens automatically. So by stating that statement that if this is not my stuff, it needs to remove itself immediately from my energy field in the name of the universe, laws of the universe. it will stop because you are putting both subconscious, conscious, and unconscious on notice, and it has to, nothing, it's been put on notice and it can't come into your space. So you should be able to feel an immediate shift. And I invite you to experiment with that and try it because, once you do it for yourself, you're going to see that there's and feel the difference of what you may be experiencing. So, with that being said, when something is coming into our space, a lot of times it could be from an unconscious level. And when we are aware and stating that phrase, that if this is not my stuff, you need to remove yourself immediately from my energy field by the laws of the universe, you're stating an intention, but also um, giving the issue reverence as well. So I invite you to try that. It's a great experiment. And I know you're going to see some really amazing shifts happen because of that. It's like almost you get this like sense of peace after, and serenity and calmness, and it's like whatever was there just kind of dissipates. It's not like it's going someplace bad. It's like you are putting a protective container around your energy field. So yes, those things could come up to that point, but they're not going to come through and get into your energy field and hook into your energy field and drain you of your energy as well and your focus. Another bonus is that you'll probably get more of your stamina, strength, and energy back, which is really a cool way to start embracing your creativity. It's almost like your creativity juices are going to start to flow again because guess what? You're no longer, it's no longer, you're no longer being distracted from that. So it's creating a space for you to be able to go forth and be more creative. Um, it for me was a game changer when I learned that tool, because many of us, especially in my age group, kind of walk through life like zombies and thinking, "Oh my God, I must be going nuts." It's like crazy making, and yet this was a game changer for me. And I find that when I have to go into difficult situations, or even to I still work in the clinical setting in hospitals, and every hospital is like an energy factory, basically. Everything's flying around in ways you have no idea. But, people like myself, when you're very intuitive and empathic, and you know that and you feel that and sense that, it's about protecting my energy field so I could show up the best way that I possibly can to be able to serve other people. So, we're getting ready to go on our break. So you're listening to the Dr. Dolores show with myself, your host, Dr. Dolores Fazzino. And when we return, we're going to talk more about boundaries and things that you can do to assist yourself so that, when you have those moments where you feel like you're getting triggered, you have some tools to work with so you could create something different for you as well. So stay tuned and we'll see you when we get back.
Do you trust your instincts? Many of us don't. Yet this is the key to connecting to your innate healer within and your intuition. Tune in to the Dr. Dolores Show with nurse practitioner, medical intuitive, and energy whisperer, Dr. Dolores Fazzino, to receive insights and tools to realign with your inner wisdom for lasting health and true wellness. Listen for the Dr. Dolores Show, Wednesdays at 3 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Central, 1 p.m. Mountain, 12 p.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com.
Are you a subject matter expert? Are you here to share your expertise with an audience waiting to hear from you in only the way you can deliver? Are you ready to have your voice amplified across the airwaves? Inspired Choices Network has a global radio platform streaming to millions of people across the world. Professionally produced and supported by an accomplished team every step of the way, You can broadcast from anywhere in the world, knowing your voice matters, and we ensure it is delivered with ease and efficiency. Eager to hear your message, the world awaits. Contact us today to become an Inspired Choices Network radio host. Email becomeahost@inspiredchoicesnetwork.com.
This is the Dr. Dolores Show with Dr. Dolores Fazzino, nurse practitioner, medical intuitive, and energy whisperer. To participate in the program, join the live studio audience in our chat room at inspiredchoicesnetwork.com. You can also send an email to Dolores at drdoloresfazzino.com. Now, back to the program.
Well, welcome back, everybody. You're listening to the Dr. Dolores Show, and I'm Dr. Dolores Fazzino, nurse practitioner, medical intuitive, and energy whisperer. And before our break, we were talking about boundaries. And of course, the subject of our talk is boundaries. But we were talking about how to set energetic boundaries for yourself, especially when you're going into difficult situations or difficult places, or you feel overwhelmed by what's kind of happening in your environment. So it's about being able to discern where you end and something else begins, and whether or not being self-aware, whether or not this is your stuff or not your stuff. Because why would you want to be fixing something that's not yours? Seriously, any recovering codependents out there? Yep, I can relate. So it's about learning discernment, and it's by baby steps. And yes, try that little technique that I was telling you about, and I'll repeat it. It's, if this is not my stuff, it needs to be removed from my energy field immediately by the laws of the universe. Okay. So let's talk about the laws of the universe. When you're a sovereign being, you're here of free will. Nothing can interfere with your energy field unless you allow it. That's just the way it is. That's why, people say that the angels can't be involved, unless we invoke them, or we could ask for, we have to ask for help in order for people to help us. And it's not only here on earth, it's also in other dimensions as well. When we pray and we ask for help and assistance, a lot of times that just doesn't happen automatically, not unless, you are in a real crucial situation, and there's a 911 call out to the universe, and then the universe, if it's not your time to go anywhere or do anything. It is important. Well, it's almost like a protected device, where they're going to make sure that you stay here to make sure you accomplish what you're supposed to do. So anyway, I know I'm kind of going off on a tangent here, but let's talk about energetic boundaries and what people can do to assist themselves with that as well. When you are, a lot of times we talk about being in the present moment. That's so important for many of us, because so many of us are not in the present moment. We're stuck in our heads. We're, thinking about yesterday, contemplating tomorrow, and rarely are we in the present moment right here, right now. When we are able to discern our boundaries, it's good to be in your body, because your body's your barometer, and as you're able to feel things. Whereas if you're in your head, you kind of lose that ability to hone in and censor in. That's why it's important to be in your physical body, because when you're in your physical body, you can experience your emotions. When you pop into your head, that kind of closes that down and doesn't allow, you don't have that extra added sense to assist you. Oftentimes people, we talked about emotions on previous episodes, but I think what I want to do is just go a little bit more about emotions and the importance of them, because they are. And when we are in the present moment, we experience our emotions. When we are in the present moment, guess what? You're also connected to your inner wisdom, your higher source, your intuition. They're all the same thing. They're interchangeable. There's many different names for those, but it's basically the same thing. So we'll just keep it simple. Your higher self. So when you're connected to your higher self, you're getting a lot of wisdom and a lot of information that'll be assistive to you if you choose to tap into that. So, and if you're in a situation where you're not sure about boundaries, it's good to ask your higher self to assist you with that. So, when we talk about emotional boundaries, how many of us have been in situations where you have a conversation with somebody and you just feel as if it's very abusive, or maybe you have somebody in your life who's narcissistic or is projecting a lot of their stuff onto you, and sometimes it's very difficult to know whether or not that's your stuff or somebody else's. When you start spending more time with yourself and developing a relationship with yourself and having communication with your higher self as well, it's going to be very you're going to be able to tell this a lot easier and a lot quicker, whether or not it's your stuff or not, because it's like you'll feel. I know for me, what happens with some people is this: they're very unhappy and then they start going down the rabbit hole of why they're so unhappy, and then they kind of start projecting things energetically onto you. And this is all a dance that kind of happens behind the scenes a little bit, okay, on an unconscious level. It's like the dance happens and they're energetically throwing all their stuff onto you. I call it energetic vomiting. And they feel better after they unload all their stuff, because guess what? They just dumped it onto somebody else, and maybe that's you. And now you have that part of this person that's on you. It feels really icky, but it's not your stuff. So what is somebody to do? Okay, number one, first realize that this may be happening. You might be getting projected upon, vomited on energetically, and the expectation on an unconscious level from the person who's doing this to you may be that they just want to feel better about themselves, and so they're going to dump their stuff onto you in hopes that you take it on and heal it for them. And it's kind of a real twisted thing, but kind of that's what happens. So when you are realizing that this is happening, I invite you to just take a deep breath. And instead of going into react and getting triggered by it, just take a deep breath and just expand yourself and feel. When you do take a deep breath, you're in your body. When you're in your body, you have that capability to expand yourself. And instead of reacting, which is a choice, I invite you to observe. Is there a dance going on? And notice, if they're trying to make you look bad or whatever by projecting their stuff. It's very telling about a person who projects, because everything that they're projecting onto you is actually what they feel about themselves. And let me repeat that. Everything a person projects onto you is what they actually feel about themselves. It's very telling. You'll learn a lot about the person when you're aware of this. And this is where your power comes in, because you know that this is not your stuff. Okay. You have that awareness because this doesn't feel anything like who you are, because you have a strong foundation and a sense of who you are when this happens. Okay. So when you are observing this and you notice that, you could just not respond and just choose to walk away. Or if you're brave enough, and just say, thank you so much for sharing so much about yourself, and just walk away. Usually that's a showstopper right there, because this person won't know how to respond to that. But that's exactly what has happened. So just thank them for showing you who they truly are, and just say thank you and walk away. No need to respond, no need to enmesh yourself with that. It's just showing you who they truly are. I know for me personally, I've seen a lot of that happen throughout my life and career. And it's very telling because, when you have a strong sense of who you are and are very grounded in your reality of who you are, and you own it and you know what you are, when something like that attempts to come into your space, um, it just can't, because it's a misalignment. Energetically, you may be vibrating up here. Energetically, this is lower. So when the two kind of come together, they are ships passing in the night, so to say. The key is like, if you're vibrating up here, don't drop your energy to go down here by reacting and going into trigger. Okay. This is a choice that you can make. I invite you to, make that, sometimes, yeah, you do get triggered and you're going to go down the energetic rabbit hole, as I call it, to, play in that frequency and vibration. It's a choice. Maybe there's times that you do have to do that, but I invite you to play a little differently and do what you can to keep your energy higher than that vibration. Because when there are two mismatched things, it's like ships passing in the night, and it's just like um it shouldn't, assist you. Well, I won't say assist you. It shouldn't interfere with what you're doing. And you know what? Yes, there are times where, yeah, you're going to get sucked into the rabbit hole and you're going to go down that, and, observe that. Maybe there's a piece there that you still need to learn about yourself, because when we get triggered, it's usually parts of ourself that are still locked in another time and a place that probably want to come back to us. So we're getting triggered so we could work on it and call that part back to us, so we become complete and whole within ourselves. It's like a shamanic technique where it's just like calling parts of your soul back to you that have been lost in another time and a place. And I think that's what happens sometimes when we have problems with addictions, or, PTSD and stuff like that. Parts of us get locked in another time zone, and it's this loop that keeps playing over and over and over. When you're able to discern the whole projection thing, it's a real game changer. It's setting boundaries, basically. It's setting a very firm boundary that you're not allowing that to happen. And how many of us in our personal life may be really good with our boundaries, but we get into work, it's like the boundaries kind of go away. I'm like, what's that all about? And I personally had something like this happen to me probably in the last year, where I have very strong boundaries, but things are starting to happen in a work environment where I do some consulting. And it really dawned on me that I wouldn't take that or accept that type of behavior in my personal life, yet I'm allowing that in my professional. And I realized, oh my God, no, 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 no. So sometimes we don't walk our talk, but yet opportunities come up so that we can embrace that and integrate it in and become more aligned, so we are walking our talk. So you are listening to the Dr. Dolores show, if you've just tuned in, and I'm Dr. Dolores Bazzino, and we're going to get ready to go to another break very shortly. And when we come back, we're going to talk more about setting healthy boundaries. And, they're just not for, they're for everybody. Everybody needs boundaries. And it's just like, when I come back, I'm going to talk about a little experiential exercise we could do that's going to help you with that as well. So see you when we come back.
Do you trust your instincts? Many of us don't. Yet this is the key to connecting to your innate healer within and your intuition. Tune in to the Dr. Dolores Show with nurse practitioner, medical intuitive, and energy whisperer, Dr. Dolores Fazzino, to receive insights and tools to realign with your inner wisdom for lasting health and true wellness. Listen for the Dr. Dolores Show, Wednesdays at 3 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Central, 1 p.m. Mountain, 12 p.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com.
How wonderful would it be to carry your favorite Inspired Choices Network host with you throughout your day? Well, now you can. Inspired Choices Network now has its very own mobile app. Our free app offers live streaming shows, along with thousands of podcasts and TV episodes. Our shows cover a wide variety of topics. Whether you're waking up with us, carrying us through the day, and taking us to bed with you, we're always here for you to enjoy. We're easy to find. Just search for Inspired Choices Network in the Apple App Store or Google Play Store.
This is the Dr. Dolores Show with Dr. Dolores Fazzino, nurse practitioner, medical intuitive, and energy whisperer. To participate in the program, join the live studio audience in our chat room at InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. You can also send an email to Dolores at drdoloresfazzino.com. Now, back to the program.
Welcome back to the Dr. Dolores Show. I'm Dr. Dolores Fazzino, nurse practitioner, medical intuitive, and energy whisperer. And we've been talking about boundaries today. Boundaries of all sorts of kind, energetic, emotional, spiritual boundaries. And we were talking about embracing and aligning your personal and professional life with boundaries. And it should be consistent. Why would you want to show up in your personal life different than your professional life, and vice versa? So there's a saying that everywhere you go, here you are. And that's the truth. You know, how many times, people have changed jobs because they just don't like the place, and then they show up in another job and it's the same issues. Or, they move to another part of the country thinking it's going to be better and it's the same issues. So it's kind of interesting because what's the common denominator? Yourself. I mean, let's face it. Sometimes that is something to look at. So let's talk more about setting boundaries. And, I'm going to share this interesting story because boundaries are not just, one-sided. They're actually two-sided. And I think that the story that I'm going to share with you gives you a better overall picture of that. I remember about a year or so ago, I was getting ready to take my cat Gracie to the vet. And for my fellow followers that are cat people, you know what I'm talking about. You know what it's like hurting a cat and getting them into their carrier and trying to get them off. It's like there's lots of drama and stuff like that. So anyway, I had my agenda, okay, and I had these, boundaries that, okay, I needed to get the cat carrier, get the cat sent off. I needed to go drop the cat off. I needed to do all these other errands, pick the cat up, and then go to work or, go to an appointment. Well, the cat had her own agenda. Okay. So when I picked up the cat to go try to put her in her carrier, she proceeded to not like that. She escaped, picked her up again. She proceeded to slice open my finger and to pee all over me. That animal was telling me about her boundaries. Okay. How many times do we have our own agenda of what we want to do, and it involves other people or other beings or other animals, and yet they have their agenda of what they want to do as well? Wow, that was a game changer for me. So I decided that, okay, I think maybe my plans need to change a little bit because my boundaries were overpowering onto her. Okay. Yet she had other concerns and other things that she wanted to do. So how many times do we impose our will or our stuff onto other people? Something to think about, because, we always think that, oh, it's, they're always doing it to us. How many times do we do it to other people as well? So something to think about. So, Gracie ended up having a change of plans. We ended up getting the mobile vet in, which was a much better situation for everybody overall. So what I'm saying is this, is that be really aware about where maybe you may be crossing the line with other people as well, because we all have our agendas. And, sometimes they may be conscious and sometimes they're not conscious. And it's to be really mindful and discernment, and what feels right and what doesn't feel right. And, offering possibilities where, there may seem like there's no possibilities at all that could be happening. What I'd like to do next is just to bring you through a guided meditation. I call it the pink bubble technique, that kind of helps people discern where you end and where something else begins. So this will help you as well with your discernment piece. So I invite you to be comfortable. If you're driving, please do not do this in your car. Okay. Wait till you're home or in a safe place where you could pull off. And it's going to probably be about 5 minutes, little exercise. I like to keep things brief because I know people will have more of a tendency to want to do them. So find your comfortable spot. And if you're able to, I invite you to close your eyes and just allow yourself to relax. I'd like you to invite you to take a deep breath in and slowly blow it out. Take another deep breath in and slowly blow it out. And take one more deep breath in and slowly blow it out. And just allow yourself to return to your normal inhale and exhale breathing pattern, and know that with every inhale that you make and every exhale that you take, you're just going to fall more and more relaxed in your physical body. So right now, imagine yourself near a very beautiful body of water. It could be the ocean, it could be a lake. Your choice. Just allow yourself to go there and just notice that there's a beautiful sandy beach in front of you, and you're barefoot and you could feel the warm sand between your toes. And when you feel comfortable enough, just sit yourself down on that sandy beach and just allow your arms and hands to rest in your lap, and just close your eyes and just imagine this beautiful pink bubble around you. And allow yourself to sit in the middle of that bubble. Pink is the color of unconditional love and acceptance. And we're just filling that bubble up with that yummy pink color. And just allow your arms to stretch out energetically to your side, so you could feel the whole perimeter of that bubble around you, above your head, to the sides and front, and even allow it to go under the sand, in the sand with you as well. Just allow yourself to radiate love and peace and serenity from your heart space into that bubble and fill it up. And know that through that bubble, that energy radiates out. So when you're in that bubble, anything that comes towards you that is not in alignment with the energy that you're projecting out, cannot come into your space. It actually will come up to that space and maybe even bounce back to the person with the love, acceptance that energetically is being poured out from the periphery of that bubble from you. So it's whatever is being projected to you is returning to the person with love and appreciation and acceptance. And just know when you think of pink bubble that this will automatically happen for you. And when you're ready, just slowly come back to the room that you're in, to this time and the place, and just feel yourself fully present in the present moment and at peace. So how was that? It's probably very peaceful and very serene. Enjoy that. This is something that you could take with you wherever you go. And when you say pink bubble, it'll automatically happen for you. That simple. So we know about the pink bubble. We know about projection. We know about, setting a boundary with the universe and universal law that if this is not my stuff, you can no longer come into my space by the laws of the universe. So we have 3 tools that we could use that are going to help assist us. When we start listening to ourselves and trusting the information that we get, or if we are feeling overwhelmed, so easy to feel overwhelmed today in this our world. There's a lot of stuff flying around energetically outside of ourselves. It's kind of maddening. And when you're aware of this is where you're able to step into your inner power. Okay. So when you're able to embrace that, setting boundaries becomes a lot easier. It becomes less challenging. It's about putting yourself first and honoring who you are and not worrying about what other people say or think. We're going to be going on another break soon. I can't believe it. It's just like we're 3 breaks in already. Time's flying. When we come back from break, let's talk more about moving forward and what you may experience when you set some boundaries and what you can expect when you set boundaries, the good things that are going to come to you, but also what you may experience in your environment as well. How often, when we show up changed, things change on the outside, which is a good thing. It's about letting people know that, you're showing up and taking ownership of who you are. Okay, so let's talk more about that because I feel that many of us give our power away to something outside of ourselves. And when we do that, it starts to, make us kind of wobbly energetically. And, we feel like, oh my God, I don't know if I could trust myself or not. When we come back, we're going to talk about more about trusting your inner self to set the right boundaries for you. So stay tuned. I'm Dr. Dolores Fazzino of the Dr. Dolores Show. And when we return, we'll talk more.
Do you trust your instincts? Many of us don't. Yet this is the key to connecting to your innate healer within and your intuition. Tune in to the Dr. Dolores Show with nurse practitioner, medical intuitive, and energy whisperer, Dr. Dolores Fazzino, to receive insights and tools to realign with your inner wisdom for lasting health and true wellness. Listen for the Dr. Dolores Show, Wednesdays at 3 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Central, 1 p.m. Mountain, 12 p.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. This is the Dr. Dolores Show with Dr. Dolores Fazzino. nurse practitioner, medical intuitive, and energy whisperer. To participate in the program, join the live studio audience in our chat room at inspiredchoicesnetwork.com. You can also send an email to Dolores at drdoloresfazino.com. Now, back to the program.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm Dr. Dolores Fazino, nurse practitioner, medical intuitive, and energy whisperer, and I'm the host of the Dr. Dolores Show. We've been talking about boundaries, creating healthy boundaries, and learning how to say yes when we mean it and no when we mean it as well. But also being more aware too. Self-awareness is like the new superpower, I swear to God. And it's a good superpower, because when you're self-aware, you're able to really be in the present moment and be fully available to everybody that you meet. And next week we're going to be talking about spiritual sovereignty. So I invite people to tune in next week. It's called Reclaim Your Power Now. Spiritual sovereignty is like our birthright to be here. So many of us, think we're born and that's about it. But it's about self-discovery. And we're going to step into a world of self-discovery and empowerment. And we're going to do a transformative journey towards reclaiming your spiritual sovereignty. And we're in an era of so many distractions and noise. Finding your essence of your inner self is really challenging. But, next week, we're going to talk more about that. So, how do boundaries kind of tie in with spiritual sovereignty? They do. When you claim your power and set boundaries for yourself, this is the ultimate of self-care. You're doing self-care. And, we talk about the importance of self-care. And, I know I've talked about this before. Self-care is more than getting a mani-pedi, a facial, a massage. That's superficial self-care. We're talking about deep dive self-care, where we look and we go to the core of our essence, where our soul resides. And what is our soul yearning for? And that growth that we need to become the best version of who we are. Maybe it's about healing things. Maybe it's about learning about boundaries. Maybe it's about setting boundaries. Sometimes when we are not tuned into that, it's just like we're just kind of going through the motions, and we kind of could come from an area of victimhood as well, where we think that everything is happening to us when in essence we're not, because as a sovereign being and the laws of the universe, what you focus on, you create. Okay. So if you're finding that everything kind of happens to you, or, it's very challenging for you to set boundaries because you're a yes person and it's hard for you to advocate for yourself and stick up for yourselves, I invite you to take a deeper dive into who you are and look at those things. Why is that so? What happened? How did that happen? I know for some of the people that I have had the privilege of mentoring through work and stuff like that, finding their voice is a big deal. That is a boundary. It's about setting intentions, saying what they speak, speaking from your heart and saying what's true to your heart. That's an energetic boundary as well. Okay. When we know that something's off and feels off, sometimes we have to be our own advocate and speak up for ourselves. Love yourself enough in order to speak up for yourself and do something about it, because nobody else can do that for you. People could witness that that's what's going on, but they can't do that for you. You have to step into your power and, take baby steps if you need to, and speak up for yourself and set those boundaries. It's not for sissies, trust me. It takes a lot of courage and bravery. And I promise you, when you do that for yourself, it'll be the most liberating thing you will ever experience. I get to witness this in a lot of people that I work with. We give them the tools that they need in order to learn those steps, to make those changes, to make those shifts so they could walk into their power and embrace that and allow it to become their truth. Okay. So let's also talk about more boundaries. When something doesn't feel right, trust that, okay? Set a boundary. What we know is that when we start changing ourselves, okay, you're going to start witnessing things happening. And I invite you to be a witness to that. Okay, we set a boundary and we say no. It may not be what the other person wants to hear, but it'll be very telling how they respond to that. Okay, and let me add more to that. If they respond differently, okay, and maybe give you a little pushback, know that something's changing and shifting. Energetically, you're shifting what you're doing. You're showing up differently, which is a good thing, okay? So please don't recoil and think that you have to please somebody, because that's not true. If they're starting to project onto you all the things that they don't like about, this whole change, this is something that is their stuff, not yours, okay? And you're going to find that you reclaim your power. So you could, state what you're saying. And I always remind people to always speak from your heart, because when you speak from your heart, you will always say the right thing, no matter what's going on. It's the truth. I swear on that. I've had some of the most difficult situations going into a situation, and I would have to take a deep breath and just drop into my body, into my heart space, and just speak from there, because I would always say the right thing. And it was what needed to be heard in the moment as well. So I invite you to do that. These are boundaries. They're life-changing skills, basically. Once you start setting boundaries for yourself and reclaiming, setting a boundary, it's like you're reclaiming your power, and you're not draining your power away or leaking it through your energy field. It's like you're calling it back, sealing it in, and you're going to be surprised how much more energy you have, how much energy you have that you could start being more creative. And you're going to probably want to try different things as well, because you're not being pulled into many directions. Okay. And your energy's not leaking. It's like you're, I want to say, calling back your energy, which is so important. So, as we close this episode, I'm just wanting you to know that setting boundaries is an important aspect to being human. I believe it's one of the foundational pieces of calling back your power, so you could step into your greatness, into your sovereign right as being who you're truly meant to be here. Because trust me, we need everybody here right now, because there's lots of work that all of us need to be doing to help our planet and help humanity evolve and create something that's going to be way better than we could ever imagine. But it all starts with us individually. So just know that you are just loved, appreciated, and valued more than you ever know. And step into your power, set those boundaries, say yes when you mean it, and don't do it when you don't want to do it. It's okay. And remember, if you're getting triggered, that's okay too. You always have a choice. You could go down the rabbit hole, or you could choose something different and expand and look at all the other possibilities. So thank you so much for being here, and stay tuned next week where we talk about spiritual sovereignty. I can't wait to be with you all. Take care now.
Thank you for listening to the Dr. Dolores Show. Dr. Dolores returns Wednesdays at 3 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Central, 1 p.m. Mountain, 12 p.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. Until then, remember to be kind to yourself and create your best life. You are worth it.